The evening air of the Wilderland cools as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of indigo and muted purple. You stand on a quiet, winding path, the grass soft beneath your boots. The wind whispers through the valley, carrying with it the faint, sweet scent of pine and distant hearth fires from the town of Dale far below. You pause, feeling the gentle breeze caress your face, washing away the exhaustion of your long journey. Before you, rising majestically against the twilight sky, stands the lonely mountain, Erebor. In this golden age, under the reign of King Thror, it is a beacon of profound peace and unparalleled craftsmanship. There is no fear here, only the quiet, steady heartbeat of a kingdom at rest. Every breath you take syncs with the slow, melancholic hum of a dwarven cello drifting from the mountain, a soothing melody vibrating through the earth. You take a slow, deliberate step forward. The crunch of your boots against the gravel provides a soft, rhythmic, grounding sound. Step by step, you approach the front gate of Erebor. This is the primary entrance, a colossal structure carved directly into the living green stone of the mountain flank. The gate is a towering archway, incredibly vast yet wonderfully welcoming. In the fading light, as you draw nearer, you can see the intricate fragments of old carven work flanking the entrance. The dwarves, with their cautious skill and gentle hands, have shaped the raw stone into perfectly symmetrical relief sculptures. These ancient carvings seem to watch over the threshold with a quiet, paternal protection. The sheer scale of the architecture does not overwhelm. Instead, it wraps around you like a heavy, comforting blanket, promising absolute security and warmth within its ancient walls. A stone-paved road, wide enough for many to walk abreast, leads directly through the great arch. The stones have been rubbed smooth by centuries of peaceful passage. You step onto the pavement, and the sound of your footsteps changes to a dull, satisfying thud against the solid rock. Beside the road, out of a dark opening in the rock wall, issues the birth of the river running. The water flows swirling in a narrow channel, carved and made straight by the cunning of ancient hands. The continuous, churning white noise of the subterranean spring spilling outward is deeply hypnotic. It masks all the sharp sounds of the outside world, blending seamlessly with the low hum of the cello. You close your eyes for a moment, listening to the eternal rush of the water as it cascades down towards the valley. It washes over your senses, pulling your consciousness into a state of profound relaxation. Opening your eyes, you notice the soft illumination guiding your way. Heavy bronze fire baskets sit atop sturdy stone balustrades on either side of the wide path. The embers within are slowly dying down to a dull, comforting orange, casting a gentle, warm, amber glow against the cool, dark, grey and green rock. This ambient light dances lazily, throwing soft shadows that stretch and fade in the twilight. The air here at the threshold exists in perfect balance. It carries the cooling chill of the encroaching night from behind you. Yet from the cavernous depths ahead, a soft, dry warmth radiates outward. It smells of ancient dust, heated stone, and the faint, sweet tang of distant forges. You feel a sudden, irresistible heaviness in your eyelids. The immense weight of the mountain above you acts as a protective shield against the worries of the world, shutting out the fast-paced rushing of time. You drift further beneath the massive arch of the front gate. The starlight above is now obscured by the impossibly high ceiling of the entrance tunnel. The transition from the exterior world to the interior kingdom is subtle but profound. The wind dies down completely, leaving only the insulated, resonant acoustics of the dwarven halls. Every tiny movement you make is cushioned by the immense space. You run your hand lightly along the wall. The stone is incredibly smooth to the touch, cold but inviting. You feel the minute, obsessive details of the dwarven craftsmanship beneath your fingertips. The delicate chiseling, the precise smoothing of the hard rock, all speak of a people who revere the earth and shape it with boundless patience. Their quiet dedication echoes in the stillness of this late hour. The kingdom has settled into its nightly slumber, and you are welcome to share in its profound rest. As you walk deeper, the pale light of the bronze baskets fades behind you. Ahead, the corridor stretches onward, illuminated sparingly by the soft, silvery gleam of crystal lamps suspended high above. These lamps, hewn from pure crystal, catch whatever ambient light remains and amplify it into a soft, starlight-like glow that never pierces the comforting darkness, but only softens its edges. Your footsteps become slower, heavier. The hypnotic rush of the river beside you becomes a distant, muted hum as the corridor curves gently into the heart of the mountain. You are completely safe here, enveloped by millions of tons of unyielding rock. The world outside, with its bright suns and hurried days, feels like a distant memory. There is only this path, this gentle twilight, and the promise of absolute, undisturbed sleep waiting for you in the beautiful, silent depths of Erebor. You stand still for a moment, simply breathing in the atmosphere of the deep earth. The quiet majesty of the architecture soothes the mind, stripping away the complex thoughts of the day until only simple, peaceful sensations remain. The faint scent of stone, the soft luminescence of the crystals, the distant, muffled, low-frequency hum of a dwarven choir somewhere leagues below. It is a lullaby crafted from geology and time. You let out a long, slow sigh, and the ancient walls seem to absorb the sound, holding it within their embrace. The journey has just begun. Yet, you already feel the irresistible pull of rest. The mountain has opened its doors to you, offering a timeless sanctuary where the weary soul can drift into the deep, comforting embrace of the dark. As you leave the gentle evening air of the threshold behind, your slow, heavy footsteps carry you into the vast, cavernous heart of the mountain. You have entered the Golden Way, a majestic passage that serves as the primary artery of the kingdom under the mountain. Here, the sheer scale of dwarven architecture reveals itself in a magnificent display of palatial grandeur. The ceiling arches impossibly high above you, lost in a comforting canopy of deep indigo and velvet black shadows. The passageways are broad and fair, cut directly out of the living rock by generations of master masons, whose patience was as enduring as the stone itself. With every step, you feel the profound, unshakable stability of the earth surrounding you. The air is perfectly still, holding a dry, ancient warmth. Your boots tread softly upon a stone floor of breathtaking perfection. Over centuries of peaceful passage, the dark green rock has been rubbed smooth, achieving a mirror-like polish that rivals the stillness of a midnight lake. As you walk, you look down to see your own slow movements, faintly reflected in the dark stone, an endless glide forward into the comforting depths. The concept of time seems to warp and stretch within these echoing ways, slowing the frantic rhythm of the outside world to a steady geological crawl. Each footfall produces a dull, satisfying sound that echoes gently down the corridor. This echo is not harsh or sharp. The immense volume of the hall softens the acoustic reflections, turning the sound into a rhythmic, ambient room tone that washes over you. As your eyes fully adjust to the cavernous twilight, you notice the source of the soft illumination guiding your path. Suspended from the unseen heights by thick, beautifully wrought iron chains are magnificent lamps hewn from pure crystal. These are the legendary lights of the dwarven realm, shining with the captured essence of sun and star, undimmed by cloud or shade of night. They do not burn with the aggressive glare of fire, but emit a soft, dim, warm, pale gold glow. The light filters downward, diffusing gently through the dust motes that hang suspended in the perfectly still air. It creates pockets of luminous sanctuary amid the vast ocean of shadow. You find yourself walking slowly from one pool of gentle light to the next, feeling a profound sense of safety. The walls flanking the Golden Way begin to widen, ushering you seamlessly into the awe-inspiring Gallery of Kings. Here, the history of Durin's folk is not merely written, but eternally preserved in monumental stone. Standing flush against the massive pillars are towering, stylized statues of ancient dwarven lords. Their immense beards, heavy armor, and stern countenances have been meticulously carved with clean, decisive geometry. Despite their martial appearance, these stone guardians exude an overwhelming aura of paternal protection. They stand silent vigil over the realm, unmoving sentinels who ensure that no harm will ever reach those who rest within their domain. As you drift past them, the pale light of the crystal lamps plays across the relief sculptures, highlighting the cautious skill of the craftsman who shaped raw granite into expressions of eternal loyalty. You pause beneath one of these colossal statues, leaning your shoulder against the cool, unyielding stone of its base. The sheer mass of the monument grounds you, draining away the last frantic thoughts of the waking day. You tilt your head back, gazing up at the serene stone face of a forgotten king, softly illuminated by the amber glow of a nearby lamp. The intricate details of his carven crown and the precise lines of his braided beard are a testament to the fact that dwarves are the most careful, detail-sensitive people when it comes to shaping stone. They coax beauty from the earth without destroying its innate strength. Resting against this masterpiece, you feel your breathing align with the slow, eternal permanence of the mountain, offering an everlasting sanctuary. As you stand in the quiet embrace of the gallery, your ears catch a new, faint vibration traveling through the solid floor beneath your boots. It is a deep-throated singing, the resonant hum of a dwarven choir echoing from the deep places of their ancient homes. The sound is incredibly low in pitch, a rich, vibrating baritone that mimics the tectonic groan of the earth itself. It is a wordless, sustained drone, harmonizing flawlessly with the vast, ambient room tone of the corridor. This deep, musical frequency acts as a stabilizing anchor for your wandering consciousness. It reverberates gently in your chest, lowering your heart rate and soothing your nervous system. It is a lullaby composed of geology, magic, and the collective spirit of a people completely at peace within their subterranean fortress. You push gently away from the stone base and resume your slow, hypnotic march down the corridor. The Gallery of Kings seems to stretch endlessly before you, a rhythmic procession of pillars, statues, and fading lights. The visual repetition of the architecture has a profoundly mesmerizing effect on the mind. Pillar, shadow, crystal light. Pillar, shadow, crystal light. Your brain stops trying to process new information, surrendering instead to the predictable, comforting pattern of the descent. The shadows pooling in the high arches seem to grow heavier, pressing down with a soft, lethargic weight. The ambient warmth of the deep earth continues to rise, wrapping around you in an invisible embrace that makes your limbs feel delightfully heavy. The urge to simply close your eyes and let the mountain carry you becomes almost irresistible. Far ahead, the Golden Way begins a subtle, wide-sweeping turn, leading deeper into the residential and archival levels of the city. As you approach the curve, the direct light from the crystal lamps becomes sparser, allowing the deeply atmospheric, cool indigo shadows to claim more of the space. The darkness here is not frightening. Rather, it is a thick, protective blanket that shields you from the harshness of the waking world. You can hear the faint, muffled rustle of your own clothing, a stark contrast to the vast silence surrounding you. The deep dwarven hum continues to vibrate through the floorboards, a constant, reassuring reminder that you are not alone. You are merely walking through a sleeping kingdom where souls rest securely within the stone. Leaving the grand, echoing majesty of the Golden Way behind, you feel a subtle shift in the very air of the mountain. The vast, palatial corridors begin to narrow, guiding you into the intimate heart of Erebor. You have arrived at the threshold of Tumnudum, the dwelling halls, where the children of Durin make their homes. Here, the scale of the architecture changes from the monumental to the domestic, yet it loses none of its dwarven character. The towering arches give way to shorter, sturdier, trapezoidal doorways, a shape favored by the master masons for its strength and unyielding stability. The transition is deeply comforting, like moving from a great cathedral into a warm, sun-drenched library. The air here is no longer still and dry. It carries the gentle, living breath of a community at rest. You breathe in deeply, catching the sweet, nostalgic scent of cedarwood, baked bread, and the rich, earthy aroma of the mountain's deep roots. As you walk slowly down these quieter residential lanes, the sound of your footsteps changes once again. The hard, mirror-polished stone of the upper galleries is now covered in thick, hand-woven rugs and runners of deep crimson and forest green. These textiles are heavy and dense, designed to muffle the sounds of daily life and preserve the tranquility of the dwelling levels. Every step you take is soft and cushioned, a gentle thud that barely disturbs the silence of the night. On either side of you, the living rock has been adorned with beautiful tapestries that stretch from floor to ceiling. They depict the long history of the Longbeards, their first awakening under the mountain, their ancient migrations, and the discovery of the Arkenstone. The colors are muted and rich, rendered with the patient, cautious skill of dwarven weavers who value the truth of the story as much as the quality of the wool. The lighting in Tumnudum is softer and warmer than the starlight glow of the crystal lamps above. Here, the primary light comes from the homes themselves. Many of the heavy oak doors are left slightly ajar, permitting the rich amber light of domestic hearths to spill out into the corridors. This light is thick and flickering, casting long, lazy shadows that dance across the textured stone walls. You pass by an open doorway and catch a glimpse of a quiet parlor where a small fire crackles softly in a stone fireplace. The warmth from the hearth reaches out to you, a gentle wave of heat that eases the tension in your limb. The glow is so inviting, so profoundly safe, that it feels like a physical embrace. You continue your descent, wrapped in this peripheral warmth, feeling the immense weight of the mountain above you, acting as a guardian of your peace. You find yourself entering a wider passage known as the Hall of Shields. Along the walls of this hallway are hung dozens of ornamental shields, each one representing a family living under the mountain. They are crafted from dark, burnished iron and polished bronze, inlaid with silver runes and golden motifs that shimmer faintly in the dim light. Each shield is a testament to a lineage that has thrived within these walls for centuries, a silent record of kinship and shared labor. The repetition of the shields creates a rhythmic visual pattern that is deeply hypnotic. As you walk past them, the light from the fire baskets catches the metallic edges in a slow, predictable sequence. It is a visual lullaby, a steady pulse of history and heritage that tells you that you are part of something enduring and unshakable. The stability of the mountain is reflected in the stability of its people. The acoustics of the dwelling halls are uniquely insulated and intimate. Because the dwarves are master stonemasons, they have designed these spaces to minimize noise, ensuring that the rest of their kin is never disturbed. The grand echoes of the higher levels are gone, replaced by a soft, muffled ambience that feels like being wrapped in velvet. You stop for a moment and close your eyes, letting your senses expand. You can hear the distant, rhythmic crackle of wood in 100 different hearths. You hear the faint, musical clinking of a ceramic spoon against a bowl, a sound so small and delicate it feels like a secret. Somewhere nearby, a dwarven mother hums a low, resonant lullaby to a sleeping child, the vibration of her voice carrying through the stone floor and into your own heart. It is a symphony of domestic peace, a world where every sound is a promise of safety. The air grows heavier and more lethargic as you move deeper into the residential tiers. The activity of the evening has largely wound down, and the kingdom is settling into its deep nighttime rest. You pass a small stone bench where a beautifully crafted wooden pipe has been forgotten, its last ember fading to a tiny, glowing pinprick of red. The smell of sweet leaf tobacco lingers in the air, a familiar and comforting scent that evokes images of home and friendship. Your own breathing has slowed significantly now, matching the long, rhythmic pulses of the mountain's heart. The corridors seem to stretch and soften in your vision, the clean lines of the masonry blurring into smooth gradients of shadow and light. There is no urgency here, no rushing water or grinding wheels, only the profound, absolute stillness of a home built into the foundations of the world. You feel a deep, irresistible sense of sanctuary within these walls. The dwarves of Erebor possess a unique stone sense, a spiritual connection to the rock that allows them to feel perfectly at home in the lightless depths. As you journey with them, you begin to share in this sense of belonging. The mountain is not a prison, it is a cradle. The millions of tons of granite above you are not a weight, but a shield against the chaos of the exterior world. Here, the clinking of tools is replaced by the clinking of teacups, and the glow of gemstones is replaced by the glow of the hearth. You are protected by the strength of Orle's folk, held in the unyielding hands of the mountain. Every worry you carried with you has been absorbed by the stone, leaving you light, calm, and ready for sleep. As you reach the end of the residential halls, the path begins to descend once more, leading toward the archival levels and the quiet zones of the mountain. You take one last look back at the warm, amber glow of Tumno Dum, feeling a profound gratitude for the peace it offers. Your eyes are heavy now, and your steps are purely instinctive, guided by the soft light of the fading crystal lamps. The journey through the dwelling halls has prepared your mind for the total darkness that lies further below. You are sinking deeper into the mountain's embrace, moving away from the warmth of the fire and toward the cool, silent wisdom of the deep places. The clinking of the domestic life fades, and the silence of the stone begins to take hold. Sleep is very near now, waiting for you in the next shadows. Leaving the cozy, domestic warmth of the dwelling halls, your descent continues into a realm of profound silence and ancient thought. You have entered the Hall of Writings, the great archival heart of Erebor, where the long history of the Longbeards is preserved within the very bones of the mountain. As you cross the threshold, the air changes once again. It is cooler here, carrying a crisp, scholarly stillness that feels like a physical weight upon your shoulders, encouraging you to move with even greater deliberation. The grand acoustics of the upper corridors are gone, replaced by an atmosphere that absorbs sound as greedily as the dwarves once mined for gold. The smell of wood smoke and baked bread from the residential levels is replaced by the intoxicating, nostalgic scent of old stone, dried ink, and thousands of years of aged parchment and leather. It is the smell of wisdom, of time slowed down to a standstill. The architecture of the Hall of Writings is a masterpiece of functional grandeur. The walls are not merely surfaces, they are towering, multi-tiered libraries carved directly into the living green granite. Every inch of space is utilized to house the vast records of the kingdom genealogies that stretch back to the awakening technical blueprints for the great forges and meticulous logs recording every gemstone ever unearthed from the deeps. The shelves disappear upward into the deep night shadows of the high, vaulted ceilings, creating a sense of being surrounded by an infinite fortress of knowledge. You walk slowly along the central aisle, your footsteps muffled by the sheer density of the paper and stone. There is a rhythmic quality to the rows of shelves, a visual repetition that serves to further calm your mind, anchoring your consciousness in the unshakable permanence of the written record. Illuminating this sanctuary of history are the legendary crystal lamps, crafted with a skill that has long since faded from the world. Unlike the warm amber fire baskets of the gate, these lamps emit a soft, dim, silvery blue glow, reminiscent of starlight captured deep beneath the earth. They are hewn from multifaceted crystals and hung by thin, elegant silver chains. The light they cast is cool and ethereal, softening the hard angles of the stone and turning the dust motes into tiny, dancing stars that drift through the air with agonizing slowness. As you pass by a reading alcove, you see the light catch the silver leaf pressed into the runes of Daeron inscribed upon the walls. The letters shimmer briefly, a ghostly message from the past that speaks of the endurance of Durin's folk. The lighting is perfectly balanced, never piercing the heavy night shadows, but providing just enough clarity to guide your sleepy progress. In the far corners of the hall, you can hear the incredibly faint, rhythmic, micro sounds of the night scribes at work. These are the master chroniclers of Erebor, dwarves who have dedicated their long lives to the preservation of truth. The sounds are hypnotic in their regularity, the soft, dry scratching of a quill pen across a sheet of thick, textured parchment, the rhythmic, metallic tink-tink of a small ring against a stone inkwell, the slow, heavy sigh of a massive book being closed. These sounds do not disrupt the silence, they highlight it. They provide a high-frequency, acoustic texture to the low-tempo, lo-fi melody that hums through the audio track. Every scratch of the pen feels like a gentle caress on your senses, a white noise anchor that prevents your mind from wandering. You are surrounded by the focused, peaceful energy of creation and record-keeping, a state of mind that is fundamentally opposed to the chaos of the day. You pause at a heavy oak table, its surface smooth and cold against your palms. A single large tome lies open here, its pages filled with elegant, hand-drawn maps of the mountain's veins. You feel the texture of the paper beneath your fingers, thick, fibrous, and ancient. This is the heart of the dwarven philosophy of craftsmanship. They do not merely build, they record. They honor the materials of the earth by documenting their presence for all eternity. Sitting here in the dim, silver light. You feel a profound sense of connection to the mountain. You are not a stranger. You are a witness to its long, secure life. The immense mass of the lonely mountain overhead feels like a vast, silent librarian watching over you with a protective, heavy gaze. You are buried deep within a fortress of history where no wind can reach you and no trouble can find you. As you rest at the table, your stone scent begins to awaken, a quiet gift shared with those who linger long enough in the depth. You can feel the mountain breathing a slow, tectonic pulse that vibrates through the chair and into your very bones. It is the sound of millions of tons of granite settling into place, a reminder that you are anchored to the most stable foundation in Middle-earth. The silence of the Hall of Writings is not empty. It is full of the echoes of 1,000 years of peace. The dwarves have built their world upon the truth of the past, and that truth is one of absolute safety and enduring wealth. Your heart rate slows further, matching the sparse, metronomic beat of the lo-fi track. The heavy indigo shadows in the corners of the room begin to feel like soft, velvet curtains, drawing closer to shield you from the last remnants of the waking world. The descent into sleep is mirrored by the physical depth of this hall. You are leagues beneath the surface now, far from the sun and the moon. The concept of daylight has become abstract, a legend belonging to another life. Here, the only truth is the stone, the runes, and the silence. You watch a single dust mote drift through the silver light of a crystal lamp, tracking its slow, spiraling fall until it vanishes into the shadows of the floor. Your eyes are becoming impossibly heavy. The detailed runes on the walls begin to blur into a soft, shimmering haze, their sharp edges softening until they resemble the distant, fading stars of a summer night. You are no longer reading history. You are becoming a part of it, a quiet soul resting in the archives of the mountain. You prepare to leave the Hall of Writings, your movements slow and instinctive. The journey is not over, but the cognitive transition is nearly complete. You move away from the light of the lamps and toward a smaller, darker archway at the far end of the hall. This path leads even deeper toward the sweeping balconies that overlook the grand, cavernous city below. As you walk, the silence of the archives follows you, a heavy, comforting cloak that muffles the world. The scratching of the quills and the rustle of the parchment fade into a unified, low-frequency hum. You are sinking, drifting, moving deeper into the unshakable embrace of Erebor. The mountain holds you, the history protects you, and the darkness welcomes you. Sleep is a vast, open hall waiting just ahead, and you are ready to cross its threshold. Stepping away from the insulated, parchment-scented silence of the Hall of Writings, you emerge through a grand, trapezoidal archway onto a high, sweeping stone balcony. The transition is immediate and breathtaking. The air, which had felt still and contained within the library, now feels vast and cool, circulating through a space so immense it defies the usual limits of human perception. You have arrived at a vantage point overlooking the great hall of Thrine, the architectural soul of the kingdom under the mountain. Before you lies an abyss of subterranean majesty, a gargantuan rocky chamber carved at the very root of Erebor by the ancestors of Durin's folk. Standing at the edge of the railing, you feel a profound sense of scale, the immense weight of the mountain above you, balanced perfectly by the staggering openness of the hall below. It is a palatial interior world, a testament to a people who did not merely inhabit the earth, but reshaped its very foundation into a dwelling of regal dignity. As your eyes adjust to the magnificent, cavernous twilight, the scene below reveals itself like a sprawling, inverted galaxy. In this golden era, before the coming of the dragon, the Great Hall is not a place of desolation, but a thriving, tiered city of light. Thousands of small, warm, amber and gold glows emanate from the residential windows, forge openings, and street-level crystal lamps leagues below your feet. From this height, the bustling life of the kingdom is reduced to a peaceful, shimmering tapestry of light against a background of deep indigo and cool teal shadows. The lights do not flicker like wind-blown candles. They hold a steady, magical luminescence, casting long, smooth gradients across the green-tinged stone of the interior ridges. You find yourself mesmerized by the visual repetition of the glowing points, your mind tracing the lines of the city as if mapping a constellation in a dream. The sheer distance from the activity below grants you a feeling of tranquil detachment, a silent observer floating above a world of eternal security. You run your hand along the balcony railing, feeling the cool, unyielding texture of the dark green granite. The stone is thick and heavy, carved with square-edged, geometric reliefs that speak of a stern but fair culture. These are the lines of Durin's folk, straight, uncompromising, and designed to endure for millennia. Despite the hard angles, the surface is surprisingly smooth to the touch, polished by the hands of countless watchers who have stood here before you. You pause at a corner where a decorative gargoyle, shaped like a mountain eagle, rests in silent vigil. The clean line art of the carving and the distinct cell shading of the stone create a visual clarity that is deeply satisfying. A nearby crystal lamp, suspended from a heavy iron chain, casts a warm amber glow that highlights the dust motes dancing in the still air. You watch them drift, their slow, spiraling motion mirroring the decelerating rhythm of your own heart. In the center of the great hall, far beyond the reach of the city lights, lies the deepest part of the mountain where the throne of Thror is situated. Although you cannot see the throne clearly from this distance, you catch a glimpse of a peerless, pale blue brilliance emanating from the very heart of the cavern. It is the light of the Arkenstone, the king's jewel, reflecting the ancient echo of creation through the darkness. This light does not compete with the warm amber of the lamps. It exists in its own ethereal category, a soft pulse of starlight that seems to anchor the entire mountain in a state of divine right, knowing that the heart of the mountain is illuminated by such a relic brings a sense of spiritual peace. It is the ultimate symbol of beauty gained, a light that has shone since the fells were made and will continue to shine as long as the kingdom stands. You breathe out a long sigh, letting the majesty of the stone absorb your final worries. The psychological effect of this vast space is one of total downregulation. The mountain, with its million tons of rock, does not press down upon you. It provides a protective shell, a sanctuary of stone that separates you from Buka, frantic, sunlit world above. Here, the cycles of day and night are determined not by the sky, but by the will of the king and the lighting of the lamps. You feel a deep geological tiredness settling into your bones, a heaviness that makes your limbs feel like unworked granite. The sheer permanence of Erebor, a kingdom that has stood for centuries and will stand for centuries more, allows you to let go of the temporary and the trivial. You are part of the stone now, a quiet soul resting in a palace of giants. The wide sweeping view of the hall is a visual anchor that keeps your mind from wandering, focusing all your senses on the simple, grand truth of the mountain's embrace. You turn slowly away from the edge of the balcony, your movements heavy and rhythmic. Ahead of you lies the entrance to a long, sweeping, spiral staircase carved directly into a natural pillar of rock. This is the path to the lower tiers, a journey that will take you even closer to the subterranean heart of the kingdom. The steps are broad and fair, worn smooth by the passage of generations. As you approach the first step, the light from the balcony begins to fade, replaced by the cool, deep indigo shadows of the stairwell. The visual transition is soothing, mimicking the slow closing of a heavy curtain. The descent is not a challenge, but a release, a pendulum motion that carries you downward with hypnotic regularity. You feel your consciousness beginning to blur at the edges, the architectural details of the hall merging into a soft haze of shadow and light. Beginning your descent, the sound of your boots on the stone steps is a rhythmic, satisfying thud that echoes softly in the narrow space of the spiral. Step, echo, step, echo. The cadence is perfectly timed to your slow, deep breathing. As you wind around the central pillar, the view of the great hall appears and disappears through stone arches, a flickering strobe light of amber and indigo that further hypnotizes your senses. You are moving through the dwarven halls and branching passages that Tolkien described, a labyrinth of beauty where every turn leads to a deeper state of rest. The world above is gone, The city below is a dream. There is only the stone beneath your feet, the shadow around your shoulders, and the gravity that gently pulls you toward the deepest sleep. The air in the stairwell is even cooler and more silent than on the balcony. The white noise of the river becomes a distant, low-frequency hum that vibrates through the rock, a constant reminder of the mountain's living, hydrological heart. You find yourself closing your eyes for longer and longer intervals between steps, navigating by the tactile feel of the smooth stone wall and the internal rhythm of the descent. The immensity of Erebor is a comfort now, a vast, silent fortress that keeps the night at bay while welcoming you into its darkest recesses. You are drifting, sinking, moving with the heavy grace of a falling leaf into the depths of the earth. Every step takes you away from the light of the lamps and toward the absolute tranquility of the lower halls. As you reach the bottom of the spiral staircase, you find yourself in a quiet, shadowy gallery that leads toward the crafting deeps. The transition is nearly complete. Your mind is no longer processing the grand architecture or the history of kings. It is focused entirely on the heavy, sleepy sensations of the present moment. The light is dim, a muted silver and indigo haze that offers no stimulation, only rest. You take one last deep breath of the mountain air, feeling it fill you with the unshakable peace of the stone. The clinking of tools and the glow of gemstones are waiting for you in the next shadows. But for now, there is only the silence of the descent. You are ready to enter the next chamber of your journey, sinking ever deeper into the heart of the mountain. Sleep is calling from the shadows ahead, and you follow its voice with absolute trust. Descending further into the depths of the mountain, the air begins to warm, carrying the dry, metallic scent of heated stone and seasoned charcoal. You have left the silent archives and grand galleries behind, entering the periphery of the high forges. In this late hour, the heavy industry of the day has long since concluded. The great hammers that ring like bells through the halls during the bustling afternoon shift are now silent, resting on their heavy stone racks. What remains is the gentle, focused artistry of the night shift, the master smiths who work in the deep hours to refine the most delicate treasures of the kingdom. As you walk slowly along the wide stone passage, the floor beneath your boots feels warm, a soothing heat that radiates from the stone itself, easing the tension in your feet and legs. The acoustics here are heavy and muffled, the vast space absorbing the sounds of the forges until they become a rhythmic, hypnotic background drone. The high forges of Erebor are a masterpiece of functional beauty, a series of immense rocky chambers carved at the very roots of the mountain. Towering square pillars of dark green granite support the weight of the peak above, their surfaces etched with snaking patterns and geometric runes that denote the guilds of the smiths. As you pass by the first great chamber, you see the forges themselves, massive stone hearths built directly into the walls, their openings shaped like wide, welcoming mouths. In this golden age of Thror's reign, the forges are never truly cold, but in the night they are allowed to breathe softly. The intense white heat of the smelting hours has faded into a deep, pulsating amber and rich orange. The embers glow with a rhythmic intensity, a slow heartbeat of light that illuminates the workshop in soft, flickering gradients. You stop for a moment, letting the radiant warmth of the coals wash over you like a heavy, sun-warmed blanket. In the center of the chamber stands a monolithic iron anvil, its surface polished to a dull sheen by centuries of labor. A single master smith is silhouetted against the glow of the forge, his movements slow and deliberate. There is no frantic rushing here. The dwarves of Erebor possess a unique stone sense and a profound fine motor control that allows them to work with unparalleled finesse. You watch as he raises a small, precision hammer. The sound of its impact is not a clatter, but a musical, high-pitched tink, a gentle metallic chime that resonates through the still air. He is shaping a piece of fine silver wire, twisting it into an intricate filigree that will eventually adorn the hilt of a royal sword. Every strike is carefully measured, a rhythmic cadence that marks the passage of the night with the accuracy of a clock. The sound is incredibly soothing, a focused microacoustic that anchors your attention and prevents your mind from wandering back to the worries of the day. Beside the forge, you notice a large pair of leather and wood bellows, resting now after their long day of stoking the fires. The air that moves through the chamber is thick with a peaceful, industrial warmth. It smells of scorched oak, heated bronze, and the faint, sweet tang of cooling metal. This is the gentle industry of the mountain, a place where the earth's raw materials are treated with reverence and patience. The smiths do not dominate the metal. They coax the light out of it, just as they coax the light out of the raw gemstones in the deeps. You find a smooth stone bench in a shadowed corner and sit for a while, watching the dust motes drift through the orange light of the embers. They move with an agonizing slowness, caught in the gentle thermal currents of the forge, rising and falling in a hypnotic dance that mirrors the slow, heavy rise and fall of your own breathing. The visual palette of the high forges is a study in contrasts, a perfect expression of the lo-fi aesthetic. The deep, cool indigo and night blue shadows of the high arches provide a restful background for the intense, warm glows of the work areas. There is no harsh, artificial light here. Everything is illuminated by the elemental fires of the earth. The cell shading of the 2D anime style highlights the clean lines of the tools, the rows of neatly organized tongs, the heavy sledges, and the delicate chisels, turning the workshop into a place of visual order and calm. As the forge embers pulse, the shadows stretch and retract across the floor in a slow, pendular motion. It is a visual lullaby, a steady repetition of light and dark that signals to your brain that the world is in order and that it is safe to surrender to your exhaustion. As you continue your walk through the forged here, you pass by long stone workbenches covered in the tools of the trade. Here, the microacoustics of the night shift become even more intimate. You hear the soft, rhythmic hiss of a piece of hot metal being quenched in a barrel of cooling oil, the sound muffled and brief. You hear the dry, scraping sound of a file smoothing the edge of a bronze plate, a steady texture that provides a satisfying white noise effect. The lo-fi music in the background incorporates these industrial sounds into its minimal, ambient melody, turning the workshop into a living instrument. The deep-throated humming of the dwarves from the residential levels still vibrates through the floor, providing a constant, low-frequency bass that grounds the entire experience. You feel a deep geological tiredness settling into your bones, a sense of belonging to the mountain's enduring heart. The smiths of Erebor do not speak as they work in the night. Their communication is a silent language of shared labor and centuries of tradition. They move with the grace of those who have mastered their craft so completely that it has become an instinct. You watch one smith carefully place a finished silver brooch into a velvet-lined wooden box, the soft thud of the lid closing marking the completion of a masterpiece. The sense of achievement and finality is palpable, a signal to your own mind that the work of the day is finished. The fires are being banked for the deepest part of the night, and the ambient light in the chamber is slowly beginning to dim. The orange glows are receding, allowing the cool indigo shadows to claim more of the space. The transition is soothing, mimicking the slow closing of your heavy eyelids as you drift closer to sleep. The heat of the forges, once intense and stimulating, has now become a soft, lingering warmth that acts as a physical sedative. It wraps around your shoulders, easing the last remnants of tension from your muscles. You feel incredibly heavy, your limbs taking on the weight of the mountain's own foundations. The vast, vaulted ceiling above you feels like a protective dome, an unshakable ceiling of stone that keeps the night sky and the wandering winds far away. Within this sanctuary of craftsmanship, there is no chaos, no uncertainty, only the rhythmic, eternal process of refining the world's beauty. You take a final, deep breath of the warm, metallic air, feeling it fill your lungs with a sense of peace. The clinking of the hammers is fading into the distance as you prepare to move toward the even quieter, crystalline depths of the jewelstead. As you leave the high forges, the orange light of the embers vanishes, replaced by the cool, starlit glow of the descending corridors. The rhythmic sounds of the workshop follow you for a moment, a fading echo that pulses in time with your slow footsteps. You are moving deeper, sinking further into the protective embrace of Erebor. The journey through the industry of the dwarves has prepared your body for total rest, showing you a world where even labor is a form of meditation and peace. The mountain holds you, the fires warm you, and the rhythm of the hammers guides you. Sleep is a deep, glowing furnace waiting in the shadows ahead, and you are ready to let its warmth consume you. Every step is a descent into a dream, a movement toward the absolute stillness of the deep places where the gemstones wait to tell their stories. Leaving the heavy, industrial warmth of the high forges behind, you continue your descent into a realm of crystalline silence and ethereal light. You have entered Mesem Azhar, known in the common tongue as the Jewelstead, the place where the legendary treasures of Erebor are given their final, perfect form. As you cross the threshold, the air changes instantly, losing the dry heat of the charcoal and taking on a cool, crisp quality that smells of deep earth and ancient, unworked stone. The grand echoes of the higher halls are swallowed by a thick, heavy quiet that feels as if it were carved from the rock itself. There is no wind here, no rushing water, only the profound, insulated stillness of a sanctuary dedicated to the most delicate and reverent craft. You feel the tension remaining in your shoulders melt away as the absolute security of this place wraps around you like a cool, silken cloak. The architecture of the Jewelstead is a masterpiece of understated, dwarven elegance. The walls are carved from dark green granite, polished to a dull sheen that reflects the light in soft, blurry pools. Towering arches support a ceiling that remains lost in the deep, night blue shadows of the mountain's roots. Along the sides of the hall, long stone workbenches stretch into the distance, each one a station of quiet creation. Unlike the upper levels, there are no fire baskets or crystal lamps hanging from the ceiling. Instead, the entire chamber is illuminated by the gemstones themselves. Thousands of diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires rest in various stages of completion, emitting a soft, internal luminescence that cuts through the dark without ever becoming harsh. It is a starlight glow, a magical radiance that seems to pulse with the very slow, steady heartbeat of the mountain. This is the moment of the gentle clinking that you were promised. As the artisan raises his silver hammer, the sound it makes against the gemstone is a tiny, musical chime, a high-pitched tink that vibrates through the quiet air with crystalline clarity. It is a rhythmic sound, a pendular cadence that anchors your focus. Clink, pause, clink, pause. Every strike is followed by the soft, whispered brushing away of microscopic stone shards using a brush of fine badger hair. The microacoustics of the craft are incredibly intimate, filling the audio track with a texture that is both sharp and soothing. It is an ASMR symphony of industry at rest, a soundscape that signals to your brain that everything is in order, that the world is being shaped with care and love. You find your breathing slowing down to match the tempo of the hammer. Each exhale a release of another layer of wakefulness. The gemstones themselves are wonders of the deep world, captured light, held in physical form. You see deep, red rubies that glow like the embers of a dying fire, and emeralds that pulse with the vibrant green of a spring forest at dusk. The sapphires are like pools of liquid night, and the diamonds are shards of pure, frozen starlight. As the dwarves cut and polish these stones, they are not merely creating jewelry, they are honoring the substances of the earth that they were created to protect. There is a deep philosophical reverence in their work, a belief that the beauty of the mountain is a gift to be refined and displayed for the glory of Durin's folk. You watch a single diamond catch the blue light of a nearby sapphire, creating a prismatic dance of color on the stone wall. The colors are muted and rich, merging into smooth gradients of indigo and pale silver that invite your eyes to close. You continue to drift through the jewelstead, moving deeper into the shadows where the finished gems are kept. The ambient light becomes even softer here, a unified glow of 1,000 fading stars. The stone sense you developed in the higher levels is now a constant, vibrating presence in your chest. You feel the massive weight of the lonely mountain overhead, miles of solid granite and precious ore acting as a final, unshakable barrier against the chaos of the outside world. Here, in the deepest sanctuary of craftsmanship, the passage of time is irrelevant. There is only the stone, the light, and the eternal, rhythmic tapping of the hammers. You find a seat on a stone ledge covered in soft velvet, and lean your head back against the wall. The rock is cool and steady, a silent promise that you will never be disturbed. Every worry has been replaced by the crystalline peace of the mountain's heart. The acoustic profile of the room begins to change as the night shift draws to a close. One by one, the artisans finish their work, placing their precision tools into velvet-lined boxes with a satisfying, muffled thud. The clinking of the hammers becomes sparser, a fading echo that lingers in the high arches of the ceiling. The lo-fi music in the background incorporates these dying chimes into its minimal melody, a slow descent into a single, sustained, ambient chord. You hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of the dwarves as they pause to admire their work, a sound of deep, communal satisfaction. The sense of finality is overwhelming. The work is done, the gems are perfect, and the mountain is ready to sleep. You close your eyes, no longer needing the visual starlight of the gems to feel the beauty of the place. The darkness is a thick, protective blanket, and you are ready to vanish into it. As you prepare to move toward the even deeper, more elemental levels of the mountain, you take one last deep breath of the Julestead's air. It is perfectly clean, filtered through miles of stone, and charged with the silent magic of the gemstone. The journey through the craft and industry of the dwarves is nearly over, and your mind has been successfully downregulated into a state of heavy, dreamlike lethargy. You feel as if you are made of the stone itself, heavy, unmoving, and eternal. The light of the rubies and emeralds is now just a soft, blurry haze in your mind, a memory of beauty that will guide your dreams. You turn away from the workbenches and head toward the dark opening that leads down to the banks of the river running, where the white noise of the water waits to take you the rest of the way. Every step you take now is purely instinctive, a rhythmic movement toward total rest. The clinking of the tools is a distant memory, replaced by the profound, absolute silence of the subterranean deeps. The mountain holds you, the gems guide you, and the darkness welcomes you. You are sinking, drifting, moving deeper into the heart of Erebor, where the silence of the stone becomes the silence of sleep. The journey has been long, but you have reached the place of absolute sanctuary. No dragon can find you here. No trouble can reach you. There is only the mountain, the deep, and the dream that is waiting just behind your eyelids. You surrender to the heaviness, letting the crystalline light of Mesem Azhur fade into the absolute blackness of a perfect, undisturbed rest, leaving the crystalline brilliance and the delicate rhythmic tapping of Mesem Azhur behind. You begin the next phase of your descent into the unshakable foundations of the lonely mountain. The air here undergoes a dramatic transformation, losing the dry, crisp quality of the jeweler's workshops and taking on a cool, heavy dampness that clings to the skin like a soft, invisible veil. As you move through a narrow, unadorned stone corridor, a new sound begins to dominate your senses, a distant, low-frequency roar that vibrates through the very soles of your boots. It is a unified, elemental sound, a vast white noise that grows louder and more enveloping with every slow, deliberate step you take. You are approaching the hydrological vein of Erebor, the birthplace of the river running, known in the ancient tongues as the Selduin. This is the lifeblood of the mountain, a dark and powerful force that has flowed through these deep places since the fells were first made. The corridor opens onto a high ledge, overlooking a long, deep channel that the dwarves have repurposed with the cunning of ancient hands. Here, the water issues forth from a dark, bottomless opening in the rock wall, a spring that rises from an unknown aquifer deep within the volcanic roots of the peak. The dwarves describe this water as boiling, not with heat, but with a churning, foaming energy that sends spray into the cool air. The channel itself is a masterpiece of engineering, its walls made straight and deep by precise dwarven tools to guide the torrent safely through the city's lower levels. You stand at the railing for a moment, looking down at the dark indigo water, as it swirls and foams against the dark green granite. The visual complexity of the currents, rendered in clean anime-style lines and smooth gradients, is mesmerizing, pulling your focus away from the complexity of the world above. As you begin to walk along the narrow stone path that follows the river's edge, the auditory landscape becomes a perfect cognitive blanket. The sound of the rushing water is a constant, steady roar that masks all other noises. The grand echoes of the upper halls, the muffled murmurs of the dwelling halls, and the rhythmic clinking of the forges are all swallowed by this elemental white noise. It is an incredibly sleep-inducing sound, a rhythmic pulse that synchronizes with your own heartbeat and slows the frantic firing of your nerves. Within this soundscape, your mind finds a rare and precious silence. There is no space for worry or planning here. There is only the water, the stone, and the rhythm of the descent. The lo-fi music in the background merges with the river's frequency, the ambient string chords rising and falling in time with the churning foam, creating a unified experience of profound sensory downregulation. The lighting along the riverbanks is sparse and deeply atmospheric, designed to honor the natural darkness of the mountain's roots. Every few hundred yards, a single crystal lamp is embedded in a stone niche, emitting a soft, dim, silver glow that catches the mist hanging over the water. These are lamps of crystal hewn, undimmed by cloud or shade of night, shining with a starlight brilliance that never pierces the comforting shadows. The light reflects off the dark, wet walls of the channel, creating long, shimmering paths of pale blue across the swirling indigo water. You watch the reflections dance, their motions slow and unpredictable, like the flickering of a tired eye. The color palette of the 2D illustration emphasizes the cool night blues and deep teals of the water, contrasted with the dark, heavy textures of the green stone. Every visual element is designed to minimize cognitive arousal, inviting you to let your gaze soften and blur. You feel the stone sense of the dwarves vibrating through you more strongly now than ever before. Deep in the roots of the mountain, the weight of millions of tons of granite provides a sense of absolute, unshakable security. There is a profound comfort in knowing that you are separated from the outside world by miles of solid rock. The storms of the wilderland, the heat of the sun, and the shifting of the seasons are all irrelevant here. The mountain is an eternal sanctuary, a fortress of stone that has stood for millennia and will stand for millennia more. Your breathing becomes slow and deep, filling your lungs with the cool, clean air filtered through the stone. You feel a sense of heavy, geological tiredness settling into your bones, a physical weight that makes every movement feel like a slow, graceful dance. You are no longer a traveler. You are a part of the mountain's enduring heart. As you follow the curve of the channel, the path narrows, taking you through a series of ancient, low-arched bridges that cross the swirling water. These bridges are masterpieces of dwarven masonry, their stones fitted together without mortar, held in place by the sheer weight of the mountain and the genius of their design. You pause on one such bridge, leaning your hands against the cool, wet stone of the parapet. Looking down into the dark abyss of the river, you see the water foaming over boulders that have remained unmoved for centuries. The microacoustics of the river are fascinating here. The high-pitched splash of a droplet hitting the stone, the deep, hollow glug of an eddy forming in a crevice, and the constant, rushing hiss of the main current. These sounds act as focal points for your attention, preventing your mind from wandering and anchoring you in the present moment. The descent continues, leading you away from the more populated crafting levels and into the unpopulated, ancient depths of the lower halls. The activity of the dwarves is a distant memory here. There are no more voices, no more hammers, only the eternal river and the silent stone. The transition is profound, a movement from the social world of the city into the elemental world of the mountain's foundations. You feel a sense of peace that is as deep and dark as the water itself. The darkness here is not an absence of light, but a physical presence, a thick and heavy blanket that shields you from the distractions of life. You find yourself closing your eyes for longer and longer intervals as you walk, navigating the smooth stone path by the sound of the river alone. The world is narrowing down to this single, rhythmic journey into the deep. Ahead, the channel enters a wide, dark tunnel that leads toward the deepest treasuries and the legendary chamber of Thror. The air grows even cooler, and the scent of damp stone and ancient water becomes more intense. You take a final, deep breath, feeling the purity of the mountain's hydrological heart. The white noise of the river begins to fade slightly as the path moves away from the water's edge and toward a grand, shadowed archway at the far end of the hall. The journey is moving toward its climax, a descent into the absolute stillness of the deepest vaults. You feel ready for the total rest that waits below. The river has washed away the last of your wakefulness, leaving you in a state of heavy, dreamlike lethargy. You turn away from the swirling indigo water and move toward the darkness of the arch, ready to sink into the mountain's final embrace. Leaving the constant, rushing white noise of the river running behind, you step into a side passage that seems to absorb all sound. This is the walk of slow waters, a corridor where a quiet trough of water runs alongside the path, moving with a silent grace toward the lower levels of the mountain. The humidity of the river caves lingers for a moment before the air becomes crisp and still once again. Your footsteps on the stone-paved road are light and rhythmic, a dull thud that echoes only faintly in the narrow space. You are moving deeper into the roots of Erebor, far beneath the sun and moon, approaching the most sacred space of the dwarven kings. The sense of scale here is different. It is not the scale of a workshop or a home, but the scale of history and heritage. You feel a heavy, comfortable weight in your chest, the unshakable certainty of the stone protecting you from every possible harm. Every breath you take is a deep, cool draught of mountain air, filtering through leagues of solid granite to reach your lungs. The passage curves gently, leading you to a high viewing gallery tucked into an out-of-the-way corner of the lower levels. You emerge from the shadows of the tunnel and find yourself standing behind a heavy stone balustrade. Ahead of you, the mountain opens up into a void of such immense proportions that it takes your eyes a long moment to adjust. You are looking into the chamber of Thror, the vast, rocky chamber beneath the deepest part of the lonely mountain. This is the hall of feasting and of council, the place where the line of Durin gathered to determine the fate of their people. The architecture is monumental, dominated by great pillars hewn of stone that spring up from the many-colored floor to meet the glistening pendants of the distant roof. The walls are polished and smooth as glass, flashing and glittering faintly in the dim light. In this late hour, the hall is empty, and the silence is so profound that you can hear the slow, rhythmic thrumming of your own heart. In the far distance of the chamber, situated upon a high dais, stands the throne of stone. It is a monolithic seat of power, unadorned but for the sheer dignity of its form, and set above the throne, caught in a suspended metal frame, is the source of the hall's ethereal light. You are gazing upon the Arkenstone, the heart of the mountain, the king's jewel. It was found deep in the earth by Thrain, I, the Old, the founder of the kingdom, and it has served as the ultimate symbol of the dwarves' divine right to rule ever since. The stone is peerless, a relic of an age long past that, swirling with the echo of creation itself, it does not burn with a flame, nor does it shine with the reflected light of the sun. Instead, it pulses with its own internal brilliance, a pale blue and white radiance that spills light into the hall with a steady, hypnotic regularity. The light is soft and cool, reaching out through the darkness to touch the edges of the pillars and the polished surface of the floor. You lean your weight against the cool stone of the gallery railing, captivated by the pulsing rhythm of the jewel. The Arkenstone seems to breathe, its light expanding and contracting in a slow, pendular cycle that matches the resting rhythm of the mountain's geological heart. This visual cadence is incredibly sleep-inducing, a rhythmic focal point that draws your consciousness away from the world of surface and sun. The light catches the silver leaf in the runes carved into the balcony, creating tiny points of starlight that shimmer and fade. You find yourself matching your own breathing to the pulse of the stone. Inhale as the light grows soft and wide. Exhale as it recedes into a concentrated spark. The absolute stillness of the chamber acts as an acoustic vacuum, ensuring that no stray thought or worry can penetrate this sanctuary of light. You are a silent witness to the glory of Erebor at its zenith, a time of bliss and beauty gained before the coming of the shadow. The history of the Arkenstone is a tale of endurance and discovery. It remained in this hall for centuries, even when the kings occasionally abandoned the mountain to explore the grey mountains in the north. Thror, the current king, returned here to replace the brilliant stone above his throne, restoring the light to the deep places. To the dwarves, the Arkenstone is more than wealth. It is a symbol of their connection to Mahal, the maker, and the substance of the earth itself. As you look at it, you feel the stone sense of the dwarves, becoming an all-encompassing presence. You are no longer separate from the mountain. You are a part of its multi-layered dwarven halls and endlessly branching passages. The weight of millions of tons of granite above you is a comfort, a massive, unyielding shield that guards this single, perfect point of light. You feel the geological tiredness of the mountain settling into your own limbs, a heavy, restful lethargy that makes your movements feel slow and graceful. In the shadows of the viewing gallery, the air is thick with a peaceful, magical warmth. It smells of heated stone, ancient dust, and the faint, sweet tang of the crystal lamps that burn silently in the higher reaches. The acoustic profile is one of extreme deadening. The vast volume of the Chamber of Thror absorbs every transient sound, leaving only the low-frequency vibration of the mountain's core. This is the deepest peace you have ever known. The world outside, with its shifting winds and bright, demanding sun, feels like a fading dream, a legend from a life you no longer inhabit. Here, in the starlight of the Arkenstone, there is only the present moment, held in the unshakable hands of the stone. Your eyes become heavy as you track a single dust mote drifting through the blue light, watching it spiral slowly down until it vanishes into the velvet shadows of the floor. The visual palette of the 2D anime style emphasizes the deep, cool shadows and the smooth gradients of the Arkenstone's glow. The clean line art of the pillars and the distinct cell shading of the stone create a visual environment that is orderly and calm. There are no jagged edges, no chaotic details, only the perfect geometry of the dwarven master masons. The light pulses again, a soft, white-blue wash that illuminates a row of decorative shields hanging on a distant wall, their silver surfaces reflecting the gleam like tiny moons. This visual repetition, combined with the slow, lo-fi beat in the background, creates a hypnotic effect that gently pulls your consciousness toward the threshold of sleep. Every pulse of the jewel is a signal to your brain that it is safe to let go, that the mountain will watch over you while you rest. You take a final look at the Arkenstone, committing its pale, enchanted brilliance to your memory. The journey through the halls of craftsmanship and history is nearing its end. You have seen the gates, the dwellings, the archives, and the forges, and now you have seen the heart of the kingdom itself. The transition from observer to sleeper is almost complete. The heavy, protective silence of the gallery wraps around you like a thick blanket, shielding you from the last remnants of wakefulness. You feel a deep gratitude for the peace of Erebor, for the unshakable stability of Durin's folk, and the beauty they have hewn from the dark. The mountain is your home now, a sanctuary of stone where time is measured by the pulse of a jewel rather than the movement of the sun. Turning slowly away from the balustrade, your movements are fluid and instinctive, guided by the internal rhythm of the mountain. You move back into the cool shadows of the passage, heading toward the deeper vaults, where the total stillness of the treasury and the absolute darkness of the bottommost cellars wait. The light of the Arkenstone fades behind you, becoming a soft, blurry glow in the distance of your vision. The auditory landscape returns to a unified, low-frequency hum, a soothing brown noise that masks the last of your thoughts. You are sinking deeper, drifting further into the unyielding embrace of the earth. The stone is your sanctuary, the light is your guide, and the mountain is your guardian. Sleep is a vast, starlit hall waiting just ahead, and you are ready to cross its threshold with absolute trust, leaving the ethereal starlight of the Arkenstone and the vast, echoing spaces of the higher chambers behind. You begin the final, most profound stage of your descent. You are moving into the lower halls of Erebor, a region of the mountain where the air is so heavy and silent it feels like a physical presence against your skin. This is the realm of the mountain's roots, far beneath the workshops, the libraries, and the homes of the dwarves. As you step into the first corridor of this deep level, the acoustics change dramatically. The vast reverb of the great hall is gone, replaced by an extreme acoustic deadening. The air here is dead, not in a way that is stale, but in a way that is perfectly insulated. Every sound you make is instantly absorbed by the millions of tons of solid rock surrounding you. Your footsteps, which were once dull thuds, are now nearly silent, cushioned by the sheer density of the environment. You feel as if you are being wrapped in a thick, soundproof blanket of stone, a sanctuary of absolute isolation. The architecture of the lower halls reflects its ancient and elemental purpose. There are no refined relief sculptures or ornate tapestries here. The dwarves, known to themselves as the Khazad, have left the stone in its most powerful and monolithic form. The walls are made of massive, unpolished blocks of dark green granite, their edges square and sharp, speaking of the early days of the kingdom's founding by Thran I. The pillars are shorter and sturdier than those above, built to support the staggering weight of the entire mountain peak. You walk slowly through this subterranean forest of stone, feeling the stone sense of the Gonhirim, the stone lords, vibrating through your very bones. It is a low-frequency hum of geological permanence, a reminder that you are standing at the absolute foundation of the world of weather, time, and sun feels like a fleeting dream compared to the unyielding truth of these halls. You feel a deep, heavy tiredness settling into your muscles, a sense of belonging to the earth itself. Illuminating your sleepy progress are the isolated crystal lamps of the deep. These are not the bright, star-filled lamps of the upper galleries, but older, dimmer sources of light hewn from rare subterranean crystals. They are embedded deep within stone niches, emitting a soft, rhythmic pulse of pale silver and muted blue light. The light is so weak it barely reaches the floor, casting long, lazy shadows that stretch across the damp stone like the limbs of giants. The rhythm of the light is incredibly hypnotic, a slow, steady pulse that matches the resting heart rate of a sleeping kingdom. You find yourself timing your slow steps to the pulse. Light, step, shadow, step. It is a visual metronome that anchors your consciousness in the present moment, stripping away the complex thoughts of the day until only the simple rhythm of the journey remains. The cool night blues and deep teals of the visual palette soothe your eyes, inviting them to close for longer and longer intervals. As you move deeper into the crystal corridors, a new acoustic focal point emerges, the rhythmic, metallic plink of water. Deep in the roots of the mountain, the moisture from the river running and the ancient aquifers seeps through the cracks in the granite. You stop beside a small, hand-carved stone basin where a single drop of condensation falls from a dark green stalactite. Plink, the sound is sharp but incredibly gentle, echoing with a high-pitched clarity in the deadened air. Plink, it is a metronome of geology, a sound that has continued for centuries without interruption. This micro-acoustic texture is the essence of the clinking promised by the dwarves. Not the sound of industry, but the sound of the mountain itself at rest. The lo-fi music in the background incorporates this rhythmic dripping into its ambient melody, creating a hypnotic, liquid lullaby that washes over your senses. You find your breathing slowing down to match the interval between the drops. Each exhale, a deeper surrender to the weight of sleep. The air in the lower halls is cool and crisp, carrying the pure, elemental scent of wet stone and ancient minerals. It is a cleansing atmosphere, stripping away the lingering scents of the forges and the libraries until only the essence of the mountain remains. You take a final, deep breath of this air, feeling it fill your lungs with a sense of profound peace. The stone sense is now an all-encompassing presence, a feeling of being anchored to the most stable foundation in Middle Earth. You are miles beneath the surface now, and the concept of daylight has become entirely abstract. Here, in the roots of the earth, there is no urgency, no rushing water, no flickering fire, only the slow, eternal pulse of the stone. You feel incredibly heavy, your limbs taking on the density of the granite walls. The urge to simply stop and rest becomes irresistible, a physical pull from the mountain itself. Ahead, the corridor begins to narrow even further, leading toward a heavy, dark archway that marks the entrance to the old treasuries. The light from the crystal lamps becomes even sparser here, allowing the deep indigo shadows to claim nearly all of the space. The visual transition is soothing, mimicking the slow closing of your heavy eyelids. You are no longer navigating by sight. You are moving by the tactile feel of the smooth stone wall and the internal rhythm of the mountain's heart. The silence of the lower halls follows you, a heavy, protective cloak that muffles the world. You are sinking, drifting, moving deeper into the unyielding embrace of the earth. Every worry has been absorbed by the stone, leaving you light in spirit but heavy in body. You are ready to enter the deepest sanctuary of the mountain, where the treasures of the ages rest in absolute stillness. You pause for a moment at the threshold of the treasury, leaning your shoulder against the cool stone of the arch. The journey through the halls of craftsmanship and geological time is nearly complete. You have descended through the light and the shadow, the industry and the domestic life, and now you stand at the edge of the deepest peace. The mountain holds you, the silence protects you, and the darkness welcomes you. You feel a deep gratitude for the unshakable stability of Erebor, a kingdom that provides a home for the soul as well as the body. The pulse of the crystal lamps is now just a soft, blurry haze in your mind, a memory of light that will guide your dreams. You are ready to let the night return, to surrender to the total rest that waits in the shadows ahead. Sleep is a vast, silent hall, and you are ready to cross its threshold with absolute trust. Passing through the heavy, dark archway at the end of the crystal corridors, you enter the most silent and guarded region of the mountain, the old treasuries of Erebor. As you cross this final threshold, the air undergoes its most profound change yet. The cool dampness of the lower halls is replaced by an atmosphere that feels dry, ancient, and heavy with the scent of unmoving metal and weathered oak. The acoustic profile of this chamber is one of absolute deadening. The millions of tons of granite above and around you act as a perfect insulator, absorbing every trace of sound until the silence itself becomes a physical weight. Your footsteps, now agonizingly slow, make no sound at all upon the smooth stone floor. You are leagues beneath the surface, far beyond the reach of the wind or the whisper of the river. Here, in the roots of the world, the concept of a waking life has completely dissolved, leaving only the rhythmic, geological peace of the stone. The old treasuries are a masterpiece of dwarven organization and security, unlike the chaotic, piled hordes that a dragon would later create. The wealth of Erebor in this golden age is stored with the same meticulous care as the archives of history. As your eyes adjust to the profound darkness, you perceive the outlines of massive iron-bound chests of wood, arranged in orderly rows within stone niches carved directly into the walls. These chests hold the labor of generations, silver belts, golden vessels, and bags of uncut gems that shimmer with a microscopic internal light. There are no lamps here, for the dwarves do not need light to know where their heritage rests. Instead, the environment is defined by smooth gradients of deep indigo and the faint, ghostly suggestion of gold. The visual palette is restricted to the darkest values, signaling to your brain that the time for observation is ending and the time for rest has arrived. You feel the stone sense of the dwarves becoming a resonant, physical vibration in your chest. In this lightless vault, the presence of the mountain is overwhelming, yet entirely comforting. You are standing in the very foundation of Erebor, the anchor point of the entire kingdom. The unshakable stability of the rock provides a sense of absolute security that no palace on the surface could ever offer. You know that miles of solid granite separate you from the storms, the heat, and the worries of Middle-earth. The mountain is an eternal fortress, a silent guardian that has stood for millennia and will stand for millennia more. You feel a sense of heavy, geological tiredness settling into your bones, a physical pull from the earth that makes your limbs feel like worked stone. Every breath you take is slow and deep, filling your lungs with the pure, still air of the deeps. The auditory landscape of the treasury has narrowed down to a single, rhythmic pulse, the low-frequency breathing of the mountain itself. It is a slow, tectonic drone that mimics the rhythm of deep delta wave sleep. Every few moments, this steady hum is punctuated by a faint, metallic, settling sound, a tiny clink or a soft thud, as the vast weight of the gold and silver shifts slightly in the dark. These sounds are not startling. They are predictable and musical, acting as hypnotic anchors for your wandering consciousness. They are the final echoes of the dwarven craftsmanship you witnessed earlier, now softened by distance and depth into a liquid lullaby. The lo-fi music in the background has dissolved into a single, sustained, ambient chord that vibrates in harmony with the mountain's core. You find yourself drifting on this sea of sound, your heart rate matching the slow, pendular cadence of the stone. You find a small, smooth stone alcove on the periphery of the main treasury chamber. It is a space designed for a guard or a watcher, carved with a low stone seat and backed by a curved wall of dark green granite. You settle into this sanctuary, feeling the cool, unyielding stone support your back and shoulders. The transition from walking to sitting is a profound release, as the muscles that carried you through the miles of corridors finally surrender to gravity. You lean your head back against the rock, closing your eyes and letting the absolute darkness of the vault envelop you. The stone is a constant, vibrating promise of safety, a shield against the chaos of the exterior world. Here, in the deepest part of the mountain, there is no urgency, no planning, and no fear. There is only the mountain, the deep, and the unshakable peace of the Khazad. The descent is now complete. You have traveled from the twilight gates, through the warmth of the homes and the industry of the forges, to reach the final sanctuary of the stone. Your mind has been successfully downregulated into a state of heavy, dreamlike lethargy. The memory of the clinking tools and the glowing gemstones is now just a soft, blurry haze, a collection of peaceful sensations that will guide your dreams. The darkness here is not an absence of light, but a physical presence, a thick, protective blanket that shields you from the distractions of the waking day. You feel incredibly heavy, as if you are being integrated into the very foundations of the mountain. You are a part of Erebor now, a quiet soul, resting in the heart of a kingdom that provides a home for the spirit as well as the body. As you drift closer to the threshold of deep sleep, the only remaining sensation is the slow, steady heartbeat of the lonely mountain. The ambient hum of the audio track begins to fade, leaving long silences between the pulses of the earth. You are anchored to the most stable foundation in Middle-earth, held in the unyielding hands of Ole's folk. The mountain stands eternal above you, its people safe, its history secure, and its treasures resting in the dark. There is nothing left to observe, nothing left to do. You let go of the last remnants of your awareness, surrendering to the total rest that waits in the deepest vaults. Sleep is a vast, lightless hall waiting just ahead, and you are ready to vanish into its beautiful, silent embrace. Every worry has been absorbed by the stone, leaving you light, calm, and ready for the final descent into a dreamless night. Your long journey through the interior world of the lonely mountain has brought you, at last, to the absolute terminus of the path. You have descended past the grand gates, the warm dwellings, the silent archives, the humming forges, and the starlit treasuries, moving ever downward into the foundational mystery of the earth. You have arrived at the bottommost cellar of Erebor, the deepest point of the mountain's roots where the physical world gives way to primeval geology. Here, the air is the coolest and most still it has ever been, carrying a scent so pure it is almost indistinguishable from the stone itself, a crisp mineral aroma that speaks of time before the sun. The grand architecture of the Dwarves has reached its final, most humble expression here. There are no more vaulted ceilings or carved statues. The walls are raw, unpolished green granite, massive and unyielding, held in place by the sheer, staggering weight of the peak that rises miles above your head. The acoustic landscape of this deepest sanctuary is a masterclass in silence. The dead air of the lower halls has resolved into an absolute auditory void, a space where sound simply ceases to exist. The distant churning of the river running is no longer a roar or even a hum. It is a ghost of a vibration, a memory of water filtered through leagues of solid rock until it becomes a part of the mountain's own resting pulse. Every movement you make is utterly silent, your presence absorbed by the density of the granite. The silence here is not empty. It is full, heavy, and protective. It is the silence of the children of Iluvatar at rest, or perhaps the silence of Owl the smith as he watched over his first creations in the dark. You feel as if you are wrapped in a soundproof cocoon of stone, miles beneath the reach of the wind, the rain, and the demanding voices of the surface world. The lighting in the bottommost cellar is the final release for your tired eyes. There are no crystal lamps here, no flickering forge embers, and no glowing treasures. The environment is defined by absolute, deep, night blue and black shadows, a visual palette that signals to your brain that the cycle of observation is complete. As your eyes soften, you perceive only the most subtle, smooth gradients of indigo, suggesting the presence of the massive rock foundations around you. In this darkness, the stone sense of the dwarves becomes your primary guide. You no longer need light to know that you are safe. You can feel the mountain around you, a constant, vibrating presence that anchors your consciousness to the earth's core. The weight of the lonely mountain is not a burden. It is a shield, an unshakable ceiling of stone that keeps the night sky and the passage of time far away. You find a broad, smooth stone ledge carved directly into a natural alcove of the root stone. This is your final resting place, a sanctuary designed for absolute stasis. As you settle onto the cool, heavy granite, you feel a profound physical release, a surrendering of the muscles that have carried you for so many miles. The transition from motion to stillness is total. You lean your head back against the unyielding rock, closing your eyes and allowing the absolute darkness of the cellar to swallow you whole. The stone is a constant, vibrating promise of security, a home for the spirit that provides the same unshakable stability as the foundations of the world. Here, in the deepest part of Erebor, there is no urgency, no planning, and no fear. There is only the mountain, the deep, and the perfect tranquility of a kingdom that knows no shadow. The clinking of tools that defined the higher levels has now resolved into its ultimate form, the slow, rhythmic heartbeat of the mountain itself. It is a low-frequency drone, a tectonic hum that mimics the deep delta waves of the most restful sleep. You find your breathing synchronizing with this geological pulse, a long, slow inhalation as you draw in the ancient warmth of the earth, and a heavy, effortless exhalation as you release the last remnants of your wakefulness. The lo-fi music in the background has faded into a single, sustained ambient chord that is nearly indistinguishable from the brown noise of the earth. You are drifting on a vast, dark sea of sound, your heart rate slowing to match the tempo of the stone. Every pulse of the mountain is a signal to your brain that it is safe to let go, that the mountain will watch over you until the world is new again. In this state of total downregulation, you feel your consciousness beginning to integrate with the mountain's mass. You are no longer a separate entity, a traveler in a foreign hall. You are a part of Erebor, a quiet soul resting in the heart of the greatest kingdom in Middle-earth. The history of Durin's folk, the beauty of their gems, and the strength of their steel are all held within you, preserved in the silence of the stone. The mountain stands eternal above you, its people safe in their beds, its forges cooling in the dark, and its treasures resting in orderly vaults. There is nothing left to observe, nothing left to do. You have reached the end of the journey, the point of absolute sanctuary, where sleep is a vast, lightless hall, waiting just ahead. You step across its threshold with absolute trust, surrendering to the heavy, beautiful embrace of the dark. As you vanish into the deep, dreamless rest of the route, the last thing you feel is the cool, steady pressure of the granite against your skin. It is the touch of Aula's hands, the protective grip of the earth that created the dwarves to be its custodians. Every worry has been absorbed by the stone, every tension washed away by the silence. You are falling, drifting, sinking into the absolute peace of the lonely mountain. The journey is over. The rest is total. The mountain holds you, the silence protects you, and the darkness welcomes you home. Sleep now, weary traveler, in the heart of the stone, in the golden age of the mountain kingdom. Let the heartbeat of Erebor be your lullaby until the sun rises over the valley of Dale once more. Good night, and find your rest in the deepest foundations of the world.